Hello, my name is Robert DeGaramore, and this is being recorded for Liberty University Class 711. The relevance of Western civilization is what we're going to discuss today. In my opinion, it's very relevant to study right now. In light of what's going on in Afghanistan. As a matter of fact, this morning we had 4 Marines killed. That just goes to show you right there that there's obviously a different priority on what being civil means. Um, there's lots of examples of why this should be relevant and indeed a thing we study. Um, Obviously, there were some schisms between the Catholic Church back in 1054 when you went from Western thought to Greek Orthodoxy, and the Greeks picked it up, and the Russians, and you have that schism, and then you have the Protestant Catholic schism. So definitely, each one of them had their specific influence on civilization. And the books I looked at were the article by Lawrence Birkin, where he's kind of saying what really is Western civilization, and quite frankly, I find him kind of clueless. However, this Daniel Hannan has a lot of good premises in his first 2 chapters of his book. I also looked at a lecture series by Rufus Spears. He's the University of Oklahoma, and here's his deal through the great courses in a history of freedom. He's talking about the fact that there's really never a definition, a word for freedom in a lot of the traditional Middle Eastern societies. The Egyptians, the Phoenicians, the Carthaginians did not have a word in their vocabulary, in their vernacular for freedom. And as Daniel Hannan suggests, that this is maybe an influence that's going to come from post Protestant Reformation England, and the sphere via the British consuming the entire world will enable their definition of liberty to be greater or more significant than any of the other major superpowers. I find it kind of interesting too. I just got back from Spain and I was reading this book on Iberia by James Michener, and throughout the book there's a theme of why Spain has as a world power, as a superpower, how come they imploded? And it's primarily due to the infighting. Is it due to the Catholic Church? Is it due to what caused their empire to contract while England's was expounding? And the premise that Daniel Hannan is going to bring to the table is that it's an Anglo sphere of influence. Basically, that's going to happen after the Protestant Reformation. And I thought that's kind of interesting how the length of this stuff, the chronology of this stuff, shows that Spain has been in a decline for almost 400 years now, and England has been, not England per se, but the English speaking peoples have been in an increase. If you notice right now, business of the world is done in English. If you look myopically at just business, before 1789 and the French Revolution, the world's business was conducted in French. So obviously, there's definitely some spots chronologically that are going to point toward a Western civilization more so. But I need to bring this back home by saying that what's going on in Afghanistan today is a primary example of the differences between a Western theory and thought and civilization and others. With that said, thank you. Hopefully, we won't lose any more lives in this little debacle that's going on in Afghanistan. Cheers.